He mightn't make many mistakes in game, but Genji 80 carry Ruler has made a big IRL one that's got him in serious trouble with South Korean authorities. One that could absolutely affect the future of his career, if he still has one after this. We're gonna begin with that section, but later in the video, we also have the outcome of the match fixing situation in the LPL involving Naiyou, so heaps to go over today. So on March 26th, documents were published on South Korea's National Tax Law Information System, which is basically a public government database. And this was first reported by Korean outlet Invin, confirming that the National Tax Service found that Ruler had evaded tax through what's called a nominal trust arrangement. Now, this basically just means registering your assets, or his assets, under someone else's name rather than his own. So in this case, it was Ruler's father. So there were actually two separate issues flagged here, and we're going to go over both. The first is managerial payments. Between 2018 and 2021, Ruler listed his father as his personal manager, paid him a wage, and claimed those payments as a business expense, which reduces how much of his income actually gets taxed. The NTS, or National Tax Service, rejected this entirely because Ruler couldn't provide a single document proving his father actually performed any managerial work. And even beyond that, the argument they made was that pro players already have their teams handling all professional activities and costs. So there was no legitimate reason to be paying a personal manager on top of that, much less your own father. And the second issue is the stock title trust. Ruler had invested in stocks under his father's name, which effectively let the family avoid the higher dividend tax brackets that would have applied to Ruler directly, assuming he earned more than his father, which of course he did. His side argued it was just a name declaration error and the tax reduction was minor. The NTS also denied this. But here's where it gets significantly worse. In 2023, the NTS fined him for all of the above and Ruler filed an appeal to the tax tribunal to contest. Allegedly, during that same appeal period, he continued doing the exact same thing. His appeal was then of course dismissed and the intentionality question, which his management tried hard to frame as a simple admin error, mixing up of names, is addressed directly in open court. The filing states that Ruler knew exactly that his income was being invested as stocks through his father, and this was actually confirmed by Kakao Talk messages between Ruler and his own tax accountant. And this is all in the court transcript, so the administrative negligence defense was pretty hard to go with when the paper trail is in the official filings and Ruler's own DMs. Then on March 30th, just days after all this went public, Ruler went live to play solo queue with absolutely no acknowledgement that the situation was even going on. His chat mods were even banning anyone who even tried to bring the topic up. He continued to do AMAs, play solo queue, and stream, and acted like absolutely nothing had happened. But while Ruler was trying to divert attention away from all this, the LCK did the exact opposite. They edited Ruler out of one of their own promotional videos, much the same as Riot did to Whippo. It was originally him, Guma, Pays, and Diable, I think, but if you watch it now, Ruler's just gone, and the fans of course noticed. And it wasn't just any promo clip either. The video was specifically talking about players being considered for the upcoming Asian Games, where Ruler won his gold medal in the past. Now, to understand why this is such a big issue and why this has blown up the way it has in Korea specifically, let's talk about the cultural weight of a tax controversy at the moment. It's pretty commonly known in South Korea that there are basically 5 or so things that will get a Korean public figure cancelled no matter what. Illegal drugs, tax evasion, military evasion, major plagiarism, and gambling. And the reason why the reaction to Ruler's tax stuff feels pretty intense compared to how a Western audience might receive the same story comes down to culture and collectivism. Korean public culture expects everyone to contribute and conform to social obligations. You pay your taxes, do your service, and hold up your end. And by service, I mean the military service. And public figures are held to that even more strictly because they're seen as the faces of society. With all this now understood, the intensity of the reaction makes a lot more sense compared to how it probably would have been received in the West. A comparison being drawn right now is to Cha Yun-woo, one of the biggest K-pop stars in the country, who got cancelled recently for the exact same thing, listing his own father as a manager to lower his taxable income. But not only is Ruler being a public figure a reason why this has gotten a lot of attention, it's also the fact that he has military service exemption, and again, this is a service to the country that is mandatory for all South Koreans. Ruler earned that exemption as part of the team that won gold at the Hangzhou Asian Games, alongside Faker and the rest of that squad. But even on this, there has always been controversy around whether that exemption should even exist for esports, and the Ministry of Sports is apparently already considering changing the regulations around it. So it's really not a good look here to be a guy who used a national privilege to get out of military service and then dodged tax obligations on top of that. But how does this relate to League? In terms of what the LCK can actually do, the rulebook explicitly covers violations of tax law. That's how serious it is in Korea. If Ruler falls under that provision, the potential penalties range from a fine of up to 100 million Korean won, which is around 66k USD. But it can carry up to a lifetime LCK ban. But on that permanent ban bit, I do want to flag something here because it's been doing the rounds and I want to be accurate about it. A lot of the permanent ban talk that spread on social media over the last couple of days actually originated from an AI-generated summary that Inven, which was the outlet that broke the story, posted on Twitter. And it was a mistake. That summary specifically mentioned a possibility of maximum permanent suspension, which got screenshotted and of course shared everywhere. Inven have since deleted that tweet and put out a correction confirming it was a technical error in their automated summarization tool and that the LCK's actual official stance is exactly what's in the article body. They're reviewing the facts and that's it. So the permanent ban thing probably got a lot more attention than it should have. I doubt the LCK would ban one of their most popular players, but I guess they also kind of have to set an example. That being said, it is in the rulebook about the permanent ban thing. It's not like it was just made up out of nowhere. It's just not what the LCK have said is on the table right now because they haven't said anything beyond the fact that they're looking into it. No punishment has been decided on yet. But to put the actual precedents in context, here are some of the biggest LCK suspension cases we've ever seen. But there's also another point of irony I want to cover that the community have definitely not let go. Bank has been an LCK major sponsor for years, sponsoring a league with a confirmed tax evader plastered all over the news. But Bank doesn't just sponsor the LCK, they also run what they call a smart tax support service as part of their banking offer. So the league's main sponsor is a bank that literally provides tax assistance, and a star player just got done for tax evasion. So a finance-focused sponsor is absolutely going to factor into how seriously the LCK treats this. It would kind of be a reflection of the LCK's view or opinion of Bank as an organization. And on top of all that, this isn't even Ruler's first disciplinary moment of this year. He was fined 800k Korean won back in January for verbal abuse in solo queue or arena or something. I actually covered this in a YouTube short. His second offense after a prior incident in March 2025. So he goes into this review already with a recent record, albeit unrelated. And all of this isn't even considering his team, whose current roster is the best in the world. If he's suspended, Gen.G have to field their Academy ADC Mudai for the first round of LCK, which is 9 matches. On the day all this was breaking, Mudai and GG Academy played DK Academy and they lost 2-0, and the LCK spring split is starting right now. So the timing for Gen.G could not be worse. And I scripted this yesterday, but this just in, I guess. Ruler himself has since responded, and it's worth going over because it's the first time he's actually addressed it directly. He put out a statement saying there was no intentional hiding or concealment of income, and went over both issues himself directly. On the managerial payments, the first topic, he said his father quit his job in 2018 and took on a full management role before the formal agency system even existed. This was almost 10 years ago. He handled his schedules, contracts, university admission stuff, all that. They applied those costs as necessary expenses, but the NTS didn't recognize them. And on the stock situation, he says it wasn't for gifts or tax avoidance, just that he had no experience managing assets and handed it all to his father, and calls it his own oversight. He confirmed the gift tax has been fully paid and the stocks returned to his name, which I'm pretty sure they actually have. But he did close it with, quote, "I take full responsibility for this matter. Regarding the LCK League issue, I will sincerely cooperate with the league's review. Going forward, I will manage all aspects of my assets more transparently and thoroughly. I'm sorry." I'm not really sure what else he could have said here to dampen the fire, but to his credit, he did actually come out and say something rather than just leaving his mods to ban anyone who brought it up on stream. However, whether it changes the Korean public opinion given everything we've just covered though, probably not much. It's also pretty lucky he did put this out too though, because shortly after, the LCK put out an official statement confirming they are formally investigating. They're assembling a dedicated investigation committee that includes third-party external experts to keep it fair and objective. Because of course, the LCK itself is also a party of interest with the outcome of this investigation. But probably the one thing to point out from this announcement is that no temporary measures are being applied right now, meaning Ruler is not suspended while the investigation runs, so he can play while the investigation is carried out. So everything I just spoke of involving Mudai is shelved for now. So Gen.G get to keep their roster for now, which is something, but he's far from out of the woods. We'll also know once the LCK finishes its investigation. I'll keep you updated with all that and when it concludes and a decision comes down, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. And on your way down to the subscribe button, maybe drop your thoughts in the comments because I'd love to know what you guys think. One thing I know for sure is this is a lot more culturally sensitive in the East than the West. All right, enough of ruler. We're on to section 2. And if you saw my earlier video on this one, here's where we get the conclusion we've all been waiting for. So just really quick, for anyone who's missed that video, here's the short version of what went down with TES Naiyou. On March 2nd, top esports were eliminated from the 2026 LPL Split 1 playoffs by Weibo Gaming. In the deciding Game 5, Naiyou was on Skarner, and he built full magic resistance against a team comp that was almost entirely AD. Notably, a very, very fed Jinx. The only remotely AP threat on the enemy team was Galio, so of course he built Spirit Visage and then started working towards a second one. For a professional playoff game, the itemization made absolutely no sense. Even bronzes aren't trying to build 2 Spirit Visages, or maybe they are. TES launched their own internal investigation off the back of this, and it was actually Naiyou's own teammates who pushed for it. His teammate, Jiaki, had apparently already raised concerns internally and reportedly threatened to go to the LPL directly if TES didn't act first. The team manager also reportedly used a photo shoot as a cover story to get Naiyou into TES headquarters so they could access his phone. The team then handed everything they found over to the LPL's disciplinary department. Head coach Poppy then went on stream and basically confirmed it before the official verdict even came down, saying that Naiyou had admitted to match fixing every game TES lost in the playoffs, and adding something along the lines of, "Do you know how good he is? If he wants to win, he can win, but if he wants to lose, he can lose." But this was a little bit preemptive, and Poppy later walked it back, saying he didn't have the full investigation details yet and to wait for official results. But the damage was pretty done by then, and everyone already thought he was match fixing anyway. We do now have the full details. Poppy was right. On March 27th, the verdict came down. Naiyou has been handed a lifetime ban effective immediately, stripped of eligibility for any official honors, banned from participating in any professional or semi-professional competitions organized by Tencent or Riot Games in any region in any capacity. His professional career is over. This guy's gonna actually be pretty hard pressed to even play solo queue probably. TES terminated his contract on the spot, withheld all unpaid salary, prize money and bonuses, and reserved the right to pursue further legal action on top of that. They've also said they'll be introducing anti-match fixing education programs across the organization going forward. So pretty good response from top. As of now, he's been replaced by Tian. Yes, the world's 2019 champion, Tian from FPX, which is quite the pivot for TES mid-split. Now, for just a little bit of context on how rare this is, the LPL has issued lifetime bans for match fixing before, but not at this level. Previous cases include Kondai, Weiyan, and probably the most well-known internationally, Bo and Milky Way from FPX. Except speaking of Milky Way, I'm pretty sure he was just cleared like the other day. He's innocent of match fixing, and I think he's coming back to play. Anyway, Bo actually managed to keep playing in Europe for a while with Vitality and KC, but has since been without a team at the end of 2024, I think. But for Naiyou, with the ban covering all Riot and Tencent competitions globally, there's no equivalent backdoor for him to continue playing at all. Following all this, the league actually commended TES for how well they handled it and cooperated with the investigation, which is probably the main reason they escaped without any serious org level penalties. They turned in their own player, who actually was really good when he wasn't just running it down, which had to have been a hard call to make internally. And when you think about what Poppy said about how far TES could have gone if Naiyou had just played like he can, yeah, that's pretty brutal because TES definitely could have won the whole thing. So yeah, lifetime ban, his career is over. His payout for match fixing must have been astronomical for even considering giving up this much and any potential earnings in the future, not to mention his reputation. So yeah, pretty grim week for the sport, honestly. A confirmed match fixer out of the LPL, and the LCK's biggest ongoing story being a tax scandal involving one of the best ADCs in the world. I'll keep you updated on the ruler situation when the LCK hands something down, so subscribe if you want to catch that when it drops. Let me know what you think of all of this. I've been yapping for ages down below, and if you appreciate this kind of content, checking to see if that subscribe button's clicked would mean a lot. Thanks for watching. Happy Easter if you celebrate, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye.